What's up, Gary? Gene. Hey, Brian. Gene Hudson again.
Mary.
So, what we got going on? Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Open the Door. So, what we got going on, Barb?
Did we say hi to Roger? I'm sorry, Roger.
Roger Blair. Yeah, what's happening, Roger?
Welcome. So, thanks to everybody for joining us, and thanks to all the moderators. That's awesome.
That's right. That's right. Gotta have it.
I put it in the comments, and so if you moderators could remind people, I think what we're going to do today is we'll like we've been asking, make sure that your questions are in all caps or the majority of the question, because it really helps us, right, Grizzly? Like when we're going back and forth, it helps us to address them. We don't want to miss hi, Sean. We don't want to miss your questions. And so today we have Tom Cantrell, and if you don't know him, you will be blown away. A lot of people know Tom. He's such a mentor and such a helpful resource, and just like to so many people. Hi, Eric. And he has a great presentation set for us today. I mean, this information is going to just blow you away. It's going to, when people say, well, there's not, Sasquatch aren't real. And well, what about the guy in the suit? And Tom has an answer to so many of these questions. It's absolutely fantastic. So if you can, hi, Tammy, if you can just hold.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I'm ready when you are. Yeah. Tom, come on down. Welcome to the show. How are you doing there?
I'm doing better than I have any right to be for an old guy. See my hat. Says I'm not old, I'm classic.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Nothing wrong with that. We was just jamming out. Welcome everybody to the show. Hello, Tammy and everybody.
Yeah,
Debbie.
Welcome, Tom. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Hi, everybody. So, Tom, can you just briefly introduce yourself?
Well, I've been doing this a while. Tomorrow, the 25th of August, will mark the 65th anniversary of the event that got me started investigating Sasquatch.
Whoa, that's amazing.
I've been doing this for a while. It's been 65 years now. I was 15 at the time, so I don't like to say my age because my age now sounds like some old guy.
Yo,
that's the age old people are.
We're all getting there.
On August 25th, 1958, a road building crew in Northern California returned to work. 65 years ago, the 25th of August was on a Monday. So they returned to work after a weekend off. And they were working out of camp, which means that they spent the weekend in camp in the mountains, building their roads, and then went home on Friday night and spent the weekend home and came back. Well, they came back this particular morning and walked to their site, started up the cat, and started, doing the service work before getting started on Monday morning, and noticed in the dirt. Now, in Northern California, when you're building road, you'll have about that much dust on the top of your road bed. Okay, and in this dust, there were tracks, 16-inch tracks, came down off the mountain. Okay, up the road, around the cat, on up the road, around the next one, and on up, and finally disappeared over the bank. That was the cat skinner's name was Jerry Crew. And that became known as the Jerry Crew incident. And what happened there? First one happened on the 25th of August, and it didn't stop there. It kept happening. Okay, and when it kept happening, he finally got the idea to cast these tracks. But they had a lot of things that happened here. They had full barrel diesel fuel, 700 and some pounds, down the canyon. Not rolled. There were no marks in that dust. It was picked up and carried and thrown down in the canyon.
Whoa.
A tire off of earth mover, 300 and some pounds, that tire, picked up, carried down the road, and thrown over in the canyon.
Wow.
Okay. This created quite a stir in the camp, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
It started off with the people, saying, "Oh, it's not possible. Somebody's just playing hoax." But this dirt was so smooth, so open, nobody could have walked there without leaving tracks. And the only tracks were there were these 16-inch barefoot tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's pretty easy to tell a Sasquatch track from a human track, other than just the size. Okay, due to the way we walk. When you and I walk, we pole vault over our knees. We land on our heel with a heavy heel strike, and then we come forward. That means our track will be deepest at the back, okay,
Mm-hmm.
where that heel hits. They walk with what's called a compliant gait,
Hi, Catherine.
where the foot actually swings out, comes down, and lays flat down on the ground ahead of them, directly in line with their back foot. Okay. When they step forward, then now the back end, they have a mid-tarsal break in their foot. That breaks, okay, and the back half of the foot comes up. All the weight's now in the front half. So if you get a track, and there can be mitigating circumstances like the soil type or gravel or rock. If you get a track and you think it's Sasquatch, and the front half isn't deeper than the back half, it probably isn't.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because the full weight will be on it on the front half, not the back half. Okay. That's
Mm-hmm.
very, very important. Okay.
Yes.
Now that slope that he came down, that they saw where he came from down the mountains to get onto the road, was 78 degrees. Okay. That's, you and I aren't walking on that.
Mm-mm. No.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's 140 some percent slope.
Whoa.
No, that's steeper than a cow's face. And so, yeah,
Wow.
that event eventually got to the newspaper in Eureka, California. The Humboldt Times. Yeah, Humboldt Times. Mr. Andrew Zanzoli was the editor there. And one of the wives of one of the crew members wrote to him and asked him, "Is there a wild man living in the California mountains? The guys are talking about that, and I'm afraid for my husband working up there." So he kind of just threw it off as a hoax to start with. But he got thinking about it. The more he thought about it, the more he thought about it. Then he did a little bit of investigating, heard about Jerry Crew, did some investigating on him, found out the quality of man he was. He was well thought of by everybody that knew him. And so when he heard that Jerry Crew was in town in Eureka for the weekend and had his track cast with him, he got a hold of him and asked him to come by the office. And if you have the pictures, if you could put up
Mm-hmm.
JC1 or JC2, okay.
Okay.
The pictures are better to see than me anyway.
Grizzly's going to pull that up for us. Thank you, Grizzly.
You will.
Yeah, Tom has a bunch of great information and pictures too. So,
Always, while you're working on that, I'll just go ahead and say, always, I hear, if you're so sure of what you got, show me the proof.
uh-huh.
Where's the beef? Well, you don't have any proofs all these years, and you don't have proof one. They're wrong. I have lots of proof.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Oh no, that's in the second.
that's BM1. I want
Yeah.
JC1. That's BM2.
Let's see. Yeah. I think it's in the second group maybe that I sent you. Yeah.
The point is, I have proof enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Do you say JC1?
JC1.
Yeah, it's gonna be looks like a newspaper clipping. Let's
Yeah,
see.
that's JC2, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay,
That'll
okay.
do just fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, there they are, Grizzly. Wait, go up.
But
Yeah.
to continue, I can't prove anything to anybody. All I can ever do is offer evidence. You know, how much of
Right.
that, how much of that, uh, how much evidence it takes for you as a person to
Mhm.
gain proof in your own mind, that's up
Right.
to you. Right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay.
There's the
Okay. The one. Yeah. So
This
you
one?
can-
there we go. There we go.
Okay. Oh
Okay.
yeah. Awesome.
Okay. There's his Jerry with his 16-inch cast. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the article that appeared in the Humboldt Times.
Wow.
Okay. The following day, the wire services picked that article up, and it appeared in my hometown newspaper, which is about 300 miles south of there. And that lit a fire in a 15-year-old boy that still burns today. Okay. What they did after this happened, a world-renowned paleontologist came in to investigate. Ivan T. Sanderson at the time had written 13 books on the mammals of the world, including the best read, best known books in use in those days. I realize that's a generation or so back now,
Mm-hmm.
but nonetheless, Ivan Sanderson came. He did a full investigation on it. He's the one that found where where he came down off the mountain. He investigated on it and did an article for Argosy magazine and another for True magazine. Now you got to remember, in 1958, those magazines were our internet. That's how we've got information. Okay.
Yeah.
They were very well read publications. Okay, if you would put up JC3, please. That's JC3 and JC4. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 and 5 both, if you could do that. If you see, that's Jerry. Ray Wallace was a construction engineer, construction company that Jerry worked for. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What he found out when this broke is all of a sudden he couldn't keep workers in camp anymore.
Oh.
The only ones who weren't leaving were the Indians who worked there. Matter of fact, they were couldn't quite figure out why everybody was so concerned. You know, you mean you're finally getting around to this? But where this job was right next to the Hoopaw and the Yurok reservations. So quite a few of the people from the reservation worked the logging crews and worked the road building crews and such like that. And if you look at this print and remember the one we had before,
Mm-hmm.
and you compare those prints and tell me which one's the real one, which one's a fake one. Ray Wallace got the idea, since he couldn't keep crew, that he would make this fake track and start leaving them everywhere, and then say, "Oh, that's me. I just did that as a joke."
Okay.
There's only one major problem with that. On the 25th of August up through the 4th of October, Ray Wallace was in Costa Rica. That's provable.
Oh.
He was in Costa Rica helping them get their logging industry started with their hardwoods down there.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
So it'd been a little difficult for him to be making tracks in Northern California when he was in Costa Rica.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
They brought in a hunting team Bob Brazil and his wife Leslie came in. He had the finest set of hounds ever put on the ground, it was said. He waited till they got a track, and they did. They had a sighting. They put his dogs on a track.
Mhm.
All four of them. They'd get up a whoop and up the road, and that was the last time they were ever seen.
Oh, wow.
They later found, it is said, I can't prove this, but it is said that they later found the remnants of them based on trees.
Mm.
But that was the end of the hunting of the Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Jerry Crew story.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
But Ray Wallace spent the rest of his life trying to prove that he was the guy that did it. But the simple fact is he wasn't even there. Okay. A short 9 years later, there was a couple of cowboys went down in the same area. As a matter of fact, where the Wallace Construction Company equipment yard was, there
Mhm.
is the same campground where Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson camped,
Okay.
and they were driving the roads that Wallace was building. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they Roger was attempting to make a documentary on Sasquatch. He was following them up. Bob just went along for the ride. Bob loved to ride horses. He rode the Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to Canada solo. Okay. But wherever Roger wanted to go, Bob was willing to go and ride along, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Roger came to him with, they had spent Labor Day weekend in the Mount St. Helens area. They'd gotten word of a sighting up there. And it rained. Oh, it rained so bad they couldn't do a thing. So finally they just Bob went back to work. He was working as a hot melt roofer out of Yakima, Washington area. And Roger came to him and said they'd found tracks around a water tank in Northern California. Can we go? Bob says, I can't get off again now. He says, our season's winding up here. We're roofer, their season's over by the end of September usually. And he says, I can't leave now. And so when it did clear up at the end of the month, his boss had told him Bob he could take off now if he wanted to. And he did. Packed up Roger's little horse, his horse, and they borrowed a horse from Bob Hieronymus. And it was an ex-roping horse. Drove down to California, 600 and some miles to the site. Spent 20 days riding the roads all night long in their truck and riding in the backcountry during the day on horseback. For 20 days they did this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They got the film that everybody knows. Bill Munns calls it the 60 seconds of film that sparked 50 years of controversy.
I'm sorry, we can put up the
Yes.
Patterson. Yeah, Patty.
Yeah, let's go.
That's PG1.
Let's go with PG1.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's
Yeah, that's yeah.
there it is. Okay, great.
Okay. That's frame 354.
Okay.
And isn't that an absolutely gorgeous picture of her?
Amazing. Just amazing.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about this.
Mhm.
In 1967, there was a guy who showed up in the Yakima area going to write a book debunking the Patterson-Gimlin film. He got a hold of Bob Hieronymus, convinced him he was going to be a millionaire if he played along with him. And so they found a guy who Roger had talked to about a suit. And I have no doubt that Roger did, because he was trying to make a documentary. So I would be quite convinced that he had contacted somebody about making a suit.
Mhm.
And if you go to PG2 now, Bob Hieronymus has said he was the guy in the suit. Okay. And that's the suit that Philip Morris
boy.
said he was making for Roger.
Boy.
Now look at that suit and
Oh
compare
boy.
it to Patty.
Right. Right.
I mean, that suit has more wrinkles in it than a fat man's chin. Okay.
Clearly a suit. I mean,
Clearly a suit. Now let's listen to Bob Hieronymus' testimony. Okay, and these are published words. They're in the record as published. I drove down to Orleans and we filmed on the beach there. He later changed that to we drove 4 or 5 miles up the Blood Creek Road. I put on the suit, walked across the gravel while Roger filmed it. I took off the suit and drove home. We took only one shot. The suit was made from the hide of a red horse. He later changed that to a black horse. It was a two-piece suit. The bottom was on fishing waders, and the top was pulled on over my head. I wore football pads to beef it up. Roger owed me money, and everybody else made money off this, so I should too. Go PG-3. Show me the ham. Show me where the fishing waders are the top is pulled over the fishing waders.
right. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go to PG-4.
Nope.
No, let's see. Trying to see where it is. Is that Pete?
That's 3. I think I sent them to you in 2 batches.
Yeah,
It'd be the first one in the next batch.
maybe.
Okay.
Let's see.
No, that's too far.
Okay. Oh, is it that one?
There, yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, in that one, show me the football pads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And if you remember that the picture of her back,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that there's no football pads there. You can see the ridge line down her spine. If you got pads on and you got a suit on over that, it's going to pull down and you're not going to see that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see. That's the first thing that struck me when I saw this was the musculature.
Yeah.
Everybody will tell you that sees this that is open-minded. You can see the muscles working as she
Yes.
moves. Do you think Bob Hieronymus would have drove 14 hours to reach them, then turned around and drove back home the same day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, let's go to BM1. There we go. Bill Munns was he ran the school for costumers in Hollywood, creature makers. Creature of the Black Lagoon he made. Like I say, he ran the school.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me he knows something about costume making and creature
Yes.
making. Okay. He took the Patterson Gimlin film, first generation copy, borrowed from Patricia Patterson in her home, and broke it down not only frame by frame, but layer by layer of emulsion within the frames. You know, the famous, what they thought was what some people said was a gunshot wound to the leg, because this hair showed up. It isn't in there in the original. That's an artifact introduced by copying copies of copies of copies of copies of copies. Okay. And in the first generation copy, it's not there. The flare of light that some people used as evidence for a massacre of Sasquatch, which is one of the stupidest things I think I've ever heard in my life. You spend all your life trying to see one, and they found 9 and shot them all. No, that didn't happen. But the flare on that he uses as a sign of a gunshot isn't on the original.
Oh, wow.
Again, it's an artifact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm.
Now, Bill wrote a book, and that's PM2, called When Roger Met Patty. And in this, he goes into great detail. I highly recommend, if you have any questions about the Patterson-Gimlin film, read this book. Okay? He goes into that layer by layer investigation. And he does some other things that are really interesting too, BM3. The first thing he noticed is that frame 352, where she turns back and is still walking,
Mm-hmm.
she did something that we all do from time to time. She took a step forward and the ground was further away than she thought it was. So what she do? She hit a little hard. She bounced. Okay. And her boob jiggled. Okay.
Yep.
And he got the idea to test this hypothesis. He got a grant, and he took the prosthesis materials available to them in 1967 and did recreations and then compared it against real women. He found out that the only one that would jiggle are these.
Mm-hmm.
The prosthesis would not. They were rigid. Okay.
There you go. Wow.
BM4. Okay, look at the lines here.
Oh.
What we have done is we've taken a female model. We have arranged her leading leg so it's the same angle as Patty's, and then drawn a line right across the buttocks all the way across. And as you can see, when you do that, nothing else lines up.
Mm-hmm.
See where her knees is and Patty's knees are?
Right.
Look where her chin is and Patty's chin. Then look at the head. Patty's head, when at the brow, slants backwards. The model's head, like yours and mine, goes straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
BM6, BM5, pardon me. Okay. Look at her eyes. Now you can see right there at the point of where that little black arrow is. That's drawn in where her eyes would be if she matched the lines in the suit. Not where Patty's eyes are. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's pretty graphic, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Okay. All right. As Bill said, if you could build a suit that would imitate Patty and do the things she did, you could not find a human being that would fit in that suit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
Now that's the testimony of an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do some logical thinking here. You can take the picture off if you want.
Okay.
Why would you travel over 600 miles from home to film a hoax? These guys lived in Yakima.
Mm-hmm.
They had the Cascade Mountains in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
They had the Blue Mountains in their front yard. Why would you drive 600 miles away from that? Okay.
Right. Yeah, that would make no sense at all. Because
Murphy's law of remote location. The further you are from home, the higher the odds you've forgotten something essential. And the corollary to that law, the further you are from home, the higher the odds the item you forgot is not available locally. Okay.
Especially in this situation, right?
Right. If you filmed at the end of some nondescript logging road in the middle of Cascades, who would ever know?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why would you spend 3 weeks waiting to film? driving the roads all day and riding horseback or all night and driving horseback all day. They were exhausted. Matter of fact, Bob had told Roger that he was leaving on Sunday to go home. And this was when he got up Friday morning. Bob rode out early. Roger hadn't gotten up yet. Roger said, well, since we only got a couple more days, can we go up into where we saw that real good habitat? And that was up Bluff Creek. And Bob said, yeah, we can do that. I'll take a pack horse and do that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Somebody had mentioned it, Sean mentioned in the comments that I think that when this film was taken, I do not believe they would make it a female, if you're going to hoax it.
Exactly. Who would put breasts on the suit? Yeah.
Why would you go to the trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
Also, you look at that picture from the back, Bill Munns will tell you in any costuming situation, the back is always the worst part to make right. Mm-hmm. You never film from the back if you can absolutely help it. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Brian had a question. There's no bulge in her leg that pops in and out. I thought it was a torn quad.
That was what they had said it was, but no, it doesn't exist in the original film.
Oh, okay. So that's another artifact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Number 3. Why would you use the tag end of a roll of film?
Yeah, right.
76 feet of it had already been exposed just on Bob, riding his pack horse in the country and the scenery. Mm-hmm. If you were going to film a hoax, wouldn't you make sure you had a fresh roll of film in?
Yep.
Not the last 24 feet on the roll.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's right. Wow.
Like I say, these aren't definitive proof, but they're good logical questions.
Definitely.
The film does make the identification of the site perfect, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can tell exactly where it is. When I was there before, it's pretty overgrown now, but I was there before it was overgrown, and it wasn't. It was easy to tell that's exactly where it was. Why would you pick a site 3.5 miles from the nearest road?
Right. Mm-hmm.
On a spot only accessible by foot or horseback. Remember Murphy's Law?
Mm-hmm.
It compounds exponentially when you're remote from a remote site.
Yep.
Why would you film next to a noisy creek?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have no communication with your actor. The banks are tricky. Roger fell down trying to cross the stream while he's still trying to film.
Right.
He fell flat on his face in the creek. All the communications would be by hand signal. That'd be the only way that you could do it. You'd have to navigate across that water and across rough ground. And then you shoot the entire scene from behind. Now you have zero communications with your actor. He can't hear you. He can't see you. And if I were going to film something like that, it'd be coming towards me, maybe then and turn and walk away, but not all from behind. It did it because that's what she gave him to film.
Yeah. And like you said, in one take, at the end of the roll, why would you do that?
Yeah. If you traveled 600 miles, you're not going to do it in one take and say that's good.
No.
Yeah. He didn't even know if his camera was working by this time because he'd fallen in the creek.
Roger had asked, wasn't it reported that Roger Patterson found different size tracks in the area where he filmed Patty?
In that area, yeah. That's what brought him down there originally.
Okay.
And there was 3 different size tracks that were found there.
Okay.
That gives you zero communication with your actor, zero control of the route and the speed, zero ability to adjust anything in the process. And the photographer is constantly chasing the actor to get a scene.
Mm-hmm.
And why shoot only one take?
Yeah.
He knew he ran out of film. He knew he fell at the creek and did not know even if the camera was working. He'd driven 600 miles from home to shoot the hoax with 3 men and 3 horses. Does that make sense to anybody?
Nope, not to me. I'm not a filmmaker,
enough
but
to
nope.
create doubt of a hoax.
Yes.
Putting all seven together puts a nail in the hoax idea in my mind.
Mhm.
Now, how does a naysayer respond to this? He doesn't. He just doesn't pay attention to you. And if you persist, he attacks you.
Yeah.
You know? All right. Now we're going to move on to the I Am series.
Oh, I love this.
I Am One. And what we're going to talk about here is something called intermembral index. Intermembral index is a constant. It's a anatomical constant, and it's the ratio of your arm length to your leg length. And within a species, it's constant. Humans, our arms are 72% of the length of our legs. Okay. I Am One. As you can see, measured from shoulder to wrist, from hip to ankle. All right. My arm is 23 3/4 inches from shoulder to wrist. My leg is 33 inches hip to ankle. If my I Am is the ratio of 23.65 to 33 times 100 to clear the decimal places, or 71.97 rounded up to 72. Okay. Now, does that mean everybody in the world is going to have exactly 72? No, but that puts it in the center of the bell curve. Okay.
Right.
And then variations are according to standard deviation beyond that. Okay. I Am Two. What about our hairy friends? Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
There's her arm. There's her leg. 84 is her I Am.
Wow.
Okay. Is that proof? It's darn good evidence.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How about a bear? I Am Three. See? 100. Their front legs or arms are exactly the same length as their back legs or arms. I Am Four. How about a giant? This is Andre the Giant, who's what, 7'6" tall? But his arm length to his leg length was 72. How about dwarf? I Am there.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 feet tall, but his I Am is 72. Okay. And what about other primates? I Am 6. Gorilla, 122.
Wow.
Chimpanzee, 104. Their arms are longer than their legs. Okay. How does this help us? Let's go to I Am 7. In 2002, BBC came out with this expose that was going to debunk the Patterson-Gimlin film. They spent multiple tens of thousands of dollars on a suit. That's the one in red on the left there.
Wow.
Okay. On the right is our picture of Patty again. Okay. Number one, look at the head on the red suit. He's looking back over his shoulder. His head sits up on a pedestal we call a neck.
Mm-hmm.
You can look right over your shoulder and back. Patty can't do that. She has the same 7 vertebrae we have, but then so does a giraffe. They're just different sizes. Okay. When she turns her head, she has to open her shoulder to see behind her. That's why she's in that pose.
Mm-hmm.
But then look at the I Am. She's 84. The one on the red, guess what? 72.
Mm-hmm.
When they got done with it, BBC put out a statement that rather than debunking the Patterson-Gimlin film, it tended to prove it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's go to I Am 8 and look at one of our favorite people again. 72. Doesn't make him Patty, does it?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Wow.
Let's look at something in the real world. We see pictures, videos, and such. Okay. Let's go to IM9, and here's the Marble Mountain footage. If you remember this, a group of Boy Scouts came on a structure back up in the Marble Mountains in Northern California, and he was up on the ridge line. Guess what his IM is? 84. Is it real? Good chance of it, isn't it?
Right. Yes.
IM 10, Independence Day figure.
Oh.
She stops, picks up her baby. IM 84.
Yes.
Okay. NUTV puts out all sorts of stuff, and here's one of theirs. IM 11. 72.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? And IM 12, the James figure. A lot of people argued this as being a Sasquatch with mange. Look at the IM on it, 100. It's a bear with mange.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
In summation, on this section, what you can do is about anything you want to as far as determining the validity, veracity of pictures and films. Okay. You have to be able to get a clear shot of the legs and the arm in order to do it, but it will debunk them for you very quickly. Now, I've done my old buddy Paul Freeman's, and they check out. They're 84. The one I haven't been able to get yet, because I can't get a clear picture of both, is the Memorial Day footage. And I'm still working on that one, trying to get a clear picture of both the arm and the leg. Mm-hmm. I tend to think it's real, but I'm not sure. The reason I tend to think it's real is ABC did a short on it where they hired a track star from WSU to
Oh yeah, I saw that.
to run that. The part they never showed you is the fact that he never made the run entirely at any one time. He did it. He fell 5 different times. They just pieced it all together. Okay, but they're good at that.
Yeah.
When Paul Freeman was on Good Morning America with his film back in '94, they had, in the interview, they asked him if he had ever made fake feet. Well, we all have in investigating. You make them to see what you can do alongside of the tracks that you have. The first thing you do is you find out you don't leave any prints because you're wearing snowshoes. Okay. And he said, yes, I have. I made it to compare with the tracks that I'm finding. When they played the interview on the Good Morning America, have you ever made fake feet? Yes, I have. Cut it off right there and then made a big joke of it. Okay. At that point, that's the last time I ever watched Good Morning America.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now let's go to CN's Cry in the Night. This is all very recent, what we're talking about here, with the exception of one little part. But in 2022, we were camped. CN1 is the waveform. Whoop, not JC.
I have to find it. I don't know where it's at.
It's let's see if I can see where it's at. I think it's in the first section that I sent you.
There we go. Keep going. There we go.
There we go. All right.
There we go. Okay. In July of 2022, we were camped in the southern section of the Blue Mountains in Northeast Oregon. And in the middle of the night, there came this sound. This is a wavelength. And I'm not good enough at this to be able to play the sound for you. I have it. But it's a ooh.
Well,
No modulation, just a tone. Long, drawn-out tone. And this was very interesting. We studied this, worked at it, and then I got an idea from another person, and I borrowed the idea to start with. I will admit that. I got in all sorts of trouble for it, for plagiarizing him. All I did was borrow the idea and carry it on from there. I thought the idea of science was that when somebody came out with something, you corroborated their evidence or debunked it. But evidently, with this person, he likes the money he gets from his website more than he wants verification.
Mm.
But in 1972, let's go to CN2.
Yep.
There were two gentlemen down in Central California in the Sierras that recorded some sounds, and it's known as Sierra sounds. That's Ron Moorhead in the back, Al Berry in the front, and the Barry Moorhead tapes are legend now. And then CN3 is a young man named Scott Nelson. Scott is a cryptolinguist. He spent 20 years in the Navy as a cryptolinguist and 10 years in private life before he started teaching college. He's taken the Barry Moorhead tapes and has actually created a phonetic alphabet of those tapes, of the sounds in those tapes from that. The first thing he had to do was slow it down 50% before he started getting the pheromones from it, before he started hearing syllables.
Wow.
That's critical. That's what got me thinking. Okay. Now, if we go to CN4, looking at waveforms, here's a human voice screaming. Okay. CN5, here's a cougar screaming.
Wow.
Notice how complicated those waveforms are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, CN6. This is the Sierra sounds
Wow.
slowed down on the waveform. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
CN7. This is Tracy Bosun's night sounds slowed down.
Wow.
Okay. So I got the idea. Let's do CN8. That's my voice.
Look at that. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Then the coup de grace for this. Let's go to CN9.
Whoa.
A 5-octave note.
Wow.
Now, there are people that can span 5 octaves, but not in a single note.
Mm-hmm. Incredible. Wow.
Now, I'm not a linguist. I certainly am not a singer. I'll tell you the type of singer I am. I was singing along to something one day, and a friend of mine says, "You don't have any trouble seeing the pulpit in church, do you?" And I thought maybe he was talking about my size. I'm 6'4". I said, "Well, no, I don't." "Why?" He says, "Yeah, with a voice like you, nobody can ever sit in front of you." So I didn't do this.
That is just amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it's I love to see the spectrograms. I just absolutely love it. There again is scientific proof that you cannot. This is something you cannot hoax, right? It's
Absolutely.
not possible. Brian Barber, has a question. I don't know if you can see that. How do we know Patty had the same amount of vertebrae? I was told that they have one less in their neck, which is why the head sits on the shoulders, and that's why they don't have full rotation.
I accepted that on its merit from Dr. Meldrum.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff told me that.
Okay.
That's I have not personally done an autopsy, so I don't know for sure.
Right.
But Jeff told me that they did. So that is subject to
Mm-hmm.
to argument. I'm certainly not going to say that I'm 100% totally true there. Okay, now we're going to move on to our summation. We've made our presentation to the court. Now we're going to summarize. Let's go to FS1. Okay. There's our 12 jurors. That's you guys out there watching, okay? All right. Now we've heard from paleontologists. In addition to Bill Munns, John, what's his name, did Planet of the Apes. Won the Academy Award for Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that I don't know how they did it because we could not do it with the material we had in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
Disney Studios said we could not have done that with animatronics. Okay. So we've heard from an Academy Award winner. We've heard from studios. We've heard from on-scene participants. We've heard from investigators. We've heard from creature makers and expert costumers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And all have said the same thing. It could not be done at that time with the materials available to us.
Right.
They did not have material that would stretch. Then we have the intermembral index. FS2. How long have we been told that we need reproducible, measurable evidence if we're to move forward?
Mm-hmm.
What is the intermembral index as applied here if this isn't so?
Right.
Is that not reproducible evidence?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, FS3, FS4, FS5. What's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Go back to FS3.
There's a clear.
Do you know what that long, drawn-out sound you heard is? They're talking to one another over great distance.
Wow.
That shows you right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a conversation waveform.
Wow.
Reproducible.
Mm-hmm.
Measurable.
Mm-hmm.
In conclusion, you can drop that now and go to FS6. Ask any scientist who works with speech how many classified species exist in the world today that are capable of articulated speech. You know what he's going to tell you? One. Us. It has to do with how our tongue attaches to the hiatal bone.
Oh.
That's a floating bone in your throat. Now, there are others that can make noises. Chimpanzees can squeal and hoot and holler. So can gorillas. But they can't articulate speech. Only one. Homo sapiens sapiens. I submit to you today, in view of what we've just seen, there is a second. Yes, he's unclassified as of yet. But I think we've made a case for his existence. And my choice of names would be Homo sapiens hirsutii, hairy wise man.
Yeah.
What say you? Is he guilty? Does he exist? Or is he innocent? Does he not exist? And that's the book. Now, I'm available for questions. I'm available for discussion on anything we talked about here or anything about Sasquatch.
Just amazing. That was so great. Wow. I mean, wow. It just, yeah, I'm sure that our viewers, they have to have questions. Gene Hudson did ask, did you, when you were referring to the Paul Freeman film, you said that you had concluded that was real, that was real. Yes. Okay. Yeah. He wasn't sure. Yep. Mm-hmm. Gene also says they speak English. It is just a way faster than we can understand.
They speak to us the language we speak. I really think they take it right out of our mind.
Mm.
That's what clairvoyants do. People with language clairvoyant skills, whoever they're talking to, they can speak their language.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these guys can do the same thing. My teacher told me one time, we have no powers, no skills that you did not at one time have. The difference is 35 millennia ago, you stopped adapting to your environment and started adapting your environment to you. And we did. We moved indoors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we're talking across the campfire. We don't need to speak to one another from ridgetop to ridgetop. And in the human body, you don't use it, what happens? You lose
Lose it. When you say your teacher, I know who you're referring to. Could you give the
Mhm.
viewers just a brief explanation of that?
Oh, yeah.
This is
25th of
incredible.
September 2010, I was called to an area in the Blue Mountains near where I lived. And I met a 9'3" Sasquatch with a 17-inch footprint by the name of Akanisha. And he is my teacher. He has led me in the publication of 15 books. Every one of these, except the first one, were his idea, but he even helped me with that one.
Wow.
And everything that's in these books came through him. Everybody that I teach, that I work with, comes through him. And my old partners, we did a 5-year study on glyphs, on their written language in BC between 2012 and 2017. And we're going up this next month to BC for a reunion. And I was about not to go because my health isn't all that good. Okay. And that's a long trip and hard to do. I can't walk by myself. I have to use help to walk, to get around. But the other night, I got a message in the middle of the night. There are people there that need to see you. Go.
Oh.
So I will be going.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Have I seen the Hoffman footage? And in my opinion, yes, I've done IM on the Hoffman footage, and it's 84.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sean says, I heard Cherokee is their long known language, I believe you mean.
That
Yes.
could be. That could be. And it might be in that area that it is.
That's true. Yeah. How do you can you explain how, because I know I don't know if I showed this, wait, did I? But I'm going to show it again. This is such a fantastic book. Because there's so many. It's Sasquatch.
Michael Payton did the artwork for the cover of that book, and
myth to mystery. It's just, it answers a lot of the so many questions,
and
it's such a great read.
I meant that book to be a definitive book for people that know what they're talking about with Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for the beginner.
Yeah.
It's not for the beginner.
Yeah.
But you know, we've suffered our slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. There's one group that called me what, the Pope of Wu, and Arla Colette. She's the high priestess of Wu.
No, brother.
Funny thing is, we're still going. They aren't around. Okay.
So one of the things that you got, that's great. One of the things that you cover in this book is that you talk about that how they sustain a breeding population.
Yes.
Right. So can you explain how that works?
They, on the average of once every 7 years, and they have semi-annual meetings, regional meetings, and it's at those meetings where it's decided who's eligible now to have a child, and who's looking to get a mate. In our area in BC, the young female there, and she's a very unusual one. She's the only one I've ever seen with blue eyes. I've heard other people talking about ones with blue eyes, but she's the only one I've seen. And came time for her to mate, and there was a young male in Oklahoma who was ready to mate. Portia. Well, Rajase went to Oklahoma to meet him, and that's what they do. The female will go to the male's home clan, and they will decide if that's what they want to do there. Okay, then they'll return, if they want to mate, they'll return to her clan to live, unless he's absolutely necessary for, for the clan there. If there's a shortage of males, such like that, they'll stay there. But normally they'll come back, and then like once every 7 years. And Rajase, her first pregnancy, she had twins, and I was fortunate enough to be at the birth of those twins. And can you imagine sitting with 18 male Sasquatch watching the birth of twins?
Oh my goodness, no! Wow, where was this at? Where would
that was in BC, in British Columbia?
Okay, wow, that's just amazing.
Oh, I have a question. How to handle an encounter with a Sasquatch? What do I do and what not to do? You know what I do? Hi there, big guy. What you doing today? My name's Tom. I'm just out doing such and such. If I'm in your way, let me know. I'll go somewhere else. But sure, nice to meet you. That's it.
I love it.
I'm going to step on some toes here, but they are not aggressive if treated with respect. Okay, I'm 80 years old. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I'm past 70 years old, and if you think you have an aggressive Sasquatch, call me. I'll come stand between you and them.
Bluetooth disconnected. Bluetooth connected.
Have I ever had them angry at me? Oh yeah. Yeah, you can get in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know what I did? I left. I came back later when it wasn't a problem. Usually it's because there's little ones there, and I'm almost afraid for little ones. Tell me a species of the mama that won't protect her little ones.
Right. Jean wants to know
if you have YouTube, and it's just Tom Cantrell, and my website is just tomcantrell.com. I started out with my first book, ghostsofrubyridge.com, and then by the time I got 10 books, the channel name was just too big. So I just changed it to my own name.
That's great.
And all of my books are available there as well. And if you order them off there, you get them signed. That's the advantage to writing a book. You get to sign it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like Kindle. People get really upset at sign their Kindle screen.
Yeah. I like to have the physical book too, but that's just that's just me. Yeah. Jean says, she says that all the time too, that respect goes a long way. And I've
respect is everything.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the first conversations I had with my teacher, he asked me to come out to the mountains because he had some important things to talk about. And I did. It's only a 70-mile drive for me at the time. And he said, I do not understand humans. You have no respect. You have no respect for where you live. You have no respect for one another. And worst of all, you don't even have respect for yourselves.
Wow.
Speaking in the generic, but humans as a class. And he's absolutely right.
Yes, he is. Wow.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
Yes, it is.
Look what's going on in our world today.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You talk about what you do to if you know that there's Sasquatch in an area, okay, and what do you do to go and just interact with them? I think this is so cute.
I have a set routine, and it works. And I'll tell you how I learned this after I tell you what it is.
Okay.
But I have my little ice chest, and I love fried chicken hips. Okay. Some people call them thighs. I call them chicken hips. Okay. Boiled eggs and Diet Pepsi. And my Kindle, my folding chair. And I go out and I open my folding chair, sit myself down, grab a chicken hip, a boiled egg, and a Diet Pepsi, open my Kindle, and sit there and eat my food and drink my drink and read my Kindle until they get curious enough to want to know why I'm sitting there. And pretty quick, I'll look up and there'll be something peeking around a tree at me. And then I just do the same thing. I talk to them.
Oh, that's incredible. Tom, have you been told that Patty's real name is Enrith? She was leading Patterson and Gimlin away from her two young ones. Have you heard that or been told?
I've heard the name. I'm not sure that is true because I can't put a source on it.
Mhm.
But actually, she was there on purpose. You know, I think her mate and the children were there too, but she was there for that film.
Mhm.
Why do you think she walked across the open ground? When she got out of sight, she booked. Talk to Bob Gimlin about that. When they got off the where she was out of sight, her steps went from 48 inches to 90 inches.
Wow.
She took off running then, but she just sauntered out of sight so that she would be filmed. That was all pre-set up.
Wow. Does Bigfoot interact
Roger,
with
I don't know, Roger. I would assume so. I mean, they're kind of the masters of their domain. I don't know of anything that disturbs them.
Okay.
A normal lifespan on a Sasquatch is about 100 years. No accident befalls them.
Do you know if they get diseases?
They are subject to some diseases, but you got to remember they've got the best diet in the world, and they're master herbalists. Okay, we play with herbalism; they live by it. Okay, I had something there I was going to say. Don't get old; it's not worth it. Your memory.
Yeah.
Well. Oh well, I guess it'll come back. It's important.
Well, they heal. They heal also.
That was the thing.
Okay, I thought that because it was like in my head. He's trying to think about healing.
Yeah. They're when they mate. Okay, they mate monogamously, and they mate for life. So much so that if in their 30s or 40s, one mate dies, and the children are pretty well raised, they probably won't take another mate even.
Oh, okay.
They're that loyal to their mates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. So stop and think about that. They're not territorial. They don't. Sure, they live in an area, but they cross back and forth between one another's areas. And when the fish are in the river, they're all down on the river fishing.
Okay.
No big deal at all. High country, winter or summertime, half the clans up in the high country. Wintertime, they're all down in the same area. They do not protect and defend a territory. They're not territorial. They're not acquisitive. They don't acquire and keep things. They use tools, but they'll use it and discard it, and they don't keep it. Not like us. They're non-aggressive. They're spiritual without being religious. I found this out in the discussion. And they mate monogamously, and they mate for life. And if you take those four aspects out of our history, how many wars have we avoided? Virtually all of them. Actually.
All of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about tree structures and upside down trees? Now, upside down tree structures are real. Yeah, they quite often those many of them that I've documented are what I'd call a creche. They're to keep the babies in while mom and dad are doing something. Okay. The ones that Olympic Project have been documented in the last few years. Beautiful examples of that. That's exactly what
big nests. The nests.
The big nest.
Yeah.
The baby goes in there while mom and dad are picking huckleberries. Okay.
Yes.
Upside down trees, you have to be careful of those. As a logger, when I was sitting there on the landing board and nothing to do, no logs coming in. I was not above taking my loader, grabbing a tree upside down and jamming it in the ground. Okay, so
Okay,
it is done. Okay,
all
but
right.
it also happens in places no machines have been.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it does happen.
So
But
look
you
it
just have you look for other evidence. This is what I mentioned, the 5-year study that we did in BC
up. Mhm.
on glyphs. When we started that, nobody even mentioned glyphs. Nobody knew what they were. And now it's a common term. Okay. But what we found there, where was I going with this?
I knew this. This is the story of my life. You sure you don't have ADHD? Because that's me, and that's the
No, I
story of
got
my life.
I got CRC. Can't remember crap.
Well, do you think that with upside down trees, if they do that, do you think that's like a sign of anything?
Yes. Sometimes it can be, and with the glyphs, the same thing. That's what I was going to tell you with the glyphs. In that 5 years, I had over 25,000 pictures of glyphs and structures. Okay. I lost one disc one time that had 19,000 pictures.
Oh no! Oh.
Now, of those 25,000 pictures, I have shown and shared less than 100 because those I can authenticate.
Mhm.
I'm 99% plus sure of who authored them. Okay. The rest of them, yeah, they probably were, or they might be, or I don't know. So I'm not going to share those, but I'll share the ones that I do have a good train of evidence with.
Mhm.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And that's, I would say, yeah, definitely. I'm only not quite a year into this, like,
Mhm.
that I have a research process,
Uh-huh.
and that's exactly what, yes. And so again, I'm just very new into the research process, but yeah. Let's see. Could you explain so their family structure, so do they have, is there a leader to their
There's
family?
in our area in the Northwest,
Uh-huh.
they live in a clan structure, and there'll
Okay.
be 1 to 3 families in a clan, from 13 to 18 individuals in that range,
Mhm.
and just there's a clan leader, but he doesn't, he is not autocratic or anything like that.
Okay.
He's just kind of modestly in charge, so to speak.
Okay.
And he's the one that goes to the annual meetings with the crew. And the one in BC, the clan leader there is Arishna, and he's a 12-foot tall white Sasquatch.
Oh wow!
We have a couple of pictures of him. But,
and is he from BC or is he from somewhere?
No, he lives in BC.
Whoa, that's amazing.
And in Washington, I've identified 21 clans. So that makes it about 300 to 320 individuals live in the state of Washington. Okay. I just protracting from there, probably about 15 to 18,000 in North America. Okay. Now, you have 320 individuals living in the state of Washington. They live 100 years. That means every year there'll be 3 deaths in 72,000 square miles. In case you're wondering why it's difficult to find a body. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, they bury their dead.
Okay.
I've got some beautiful gray pictures.
Oh wow.
So, and they may be 4 feet down or they may be 20 feet down.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not going to find them by accident. And, so yeah, they do things. They do the same things we do. They just do it differently. Yeah.
So in that family, so in the clan, and you said there could be 2 families or 3 families.
Yeah, it could be 3 families. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So would that be like sisters, brothers?
Could be, or it could be when they go out of their area to take a mate.
Mhm.
because they understand the problems with inbreeding.
Mhm.
Okay, so they do that to avoid that. Since they have such a low population, they're very careful about that, not to breed too closely, and that's the reason for that. Um, the funny thing about that, I was telling Arla, she lives in Oklahoma, where Forshno is from, and I was describing Rajase to her because Rajase last time I was in BC, we were out hiking. Oh, it was raining. It was wet, and
Oh,
she wanted to talk to me, but she didn't want everybody else around. So they wanted to hike up to what we call the Green Tank, and it's a pretty uphill thing. And I was having to use my walker then to get around. So I told them, just go ahead and go. I'll sit right here and wait for you. I said, oh no, we'll wait. No, go. She had told me where to meet her. I thought I had to use the stick to beat them off to make them go. And they were no more than out of sight around the corner and up the hill, and she came out. And like I said, she has blue eyes, and her head isn't doesn't have the steep ridge, and her hair looks like it's been like cut like a flat top.
wow.
And I started to explain to Arla that. She said, wait a minute. She said, I saw her. She said, just a second. She went and got her notes.
Oh
And
my
came
goodness.
back and read her notes back to me from Oklahoma when she was there to meet Forstner. She had seen her, read it back identical to what she was.
Oh my goodness. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
So so they are back in. So she brought her, I guess husband back to BC. Is that okay? Is that what they do, or does it, like you said, just whatever? Just they do whatever. She may have stayed there in Oklahoma, or
they usually, if they can, they come back to the female's home.
Okay.
And,
All right.
and and she's still there. She has the twins, and I just had another new one last year.
Oh, wow. Sean Flynn asks, you're in Washington State, is that right,
Yes.
Tom? Yes,
Mhm.
you're in what part generally?
I'm in Enumclaw, right next to the
okay.
mountains. Yeah.
That's not far from me at all. I'm in
No,
I live on the Key Peninsula.
Yeah.
On the Key Peninsula, Pierce County. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so Brian says, what's the most precious experience you've had, and what's the scariest experience?
Oh, most precious was meeting my teacher. No. It had to be the twins. The birth of the twins.
Oh.
That just, it's unreal.
Oh, wow.
No, but meeting my teacher would have been a close second. I mean, my sister one time said, why do you spend so much time with something like that? Listen, I've had an individual 9 foot tall that 90% of the world doesn't believe even exists hold my hand. What would that be worth to you? Yeah.
Right.
The scariest is involving other people, because I never know how they're going to react.
Mm.
But I've never had a scary incident with Sasquatch. Never. In 65 years. Oh, I was going to tell you how I got started with that system I used for waiting for.
Did he freeze up?
Oh, yeah, I think.
In engineering.
Okay.
That said, I have never worked a day for a company as an employee as a logging engineer. I got out of college and found out what they paid. And I had my little Jippo logging company going, and it paid more than that. But what I did do was I did a lot of consulting work in the state of Washington. If you're going to build a road that crosses a stream used by anadromous fish runs, that's salmon, steelhead, type to go to the ocean, come back. Mm-hmm. You have to have a permit from the state.
Yep.
In order to get that permit, you have to fill out a report. So that's what they would hire me to do. And of course, their staff engineers got the ones that were all close to the road. They hired me for the ones that were 6 mile hike in.
Yeah.
And but that's all right. I made more in a weekend doing that than I would have made as in a month as an employee for them. So I would hike in and I'd do all the measurements. You got to measure the water flow, measure the stream, the soil type, what kind of rock, your approaches and all of that. And I found out early on, the last thing you want to do is get all those measurements, hike back out, sit down at your desk that night to draw it up, and find out you've forgotten a measurement and had to walk back in the next day. So it'll ruin your whole weekend for you. So what I did is I would just sit down on the bank when I had everything I thought I needed and do a rough drawing and make sure all the measurements were there. Then I could go home safely. And it was doing that, I'd hear just a little up down whistle.
Oh my gosh.
I whistle only slightly better than I sing. Yeah. And that's
I've heard that. I have heard that in my driveway, and I have a recording of it. Grizzly, you've heard that? It's like,
yes, exactly.
yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And what I finally found out, it's on track 7 of the Sierra Sounds too.
Ooh, that gave me the
very,
chills.
very definite there.
Yeah.
And but what that means is I've got my eye on the big guy over here, and I'd hear that and I'd look up and there'd be an eyeball peeking around a tree at me.
Wow.
And they get curious. Why? I mean, I'm back in old growth timber, 4, 5, 6 miles. There's not been anybody there in 500 years. Yeah.
Right.
And so yeah, they get curious and here they'd come.
Wow.
No such thing as a road Sasquatch.
Okay.
They take care of their own.
Okay.
If it's rogue, it's not a Sasquatch.
Oh.
There are other entities, but it's not Sasquatch.
Oh. Okay. Can you see that next to
They're very opportunistic, Roger. They will live wherever they can. Just a shelf, a rock shelf is fine. They're well insulated, and they do just fine. And yeah, they do like to be out of the weather and bad weather, but
wherever they.
Mm-hmm.
In this book, you say about that. Usually, did you say like an adolescent or maybe an older teen male is in charge of
the kids when the parents are working, or the older, I mean, from weaning size on,
okay.
Like 2-year-olds on up, toddler size on, okay. They will be with one of the older adolescent males, and he'll be in charge of them. There's a lake over just across the crest of the Cascades, starting down the other side. It's a irrigation impoundment, and by September it's way down, and the banks are just flat, and great place for tracks, great place for following, and that's where 2 of our group, Ashley was one of them, got the butt casts. We've got casts of where they sat in the mud, and one of them was a female. You can see the labia, you can see the anus, and and the cast. And the other one was a male. You can see the scrotum and the anus. And, and in that area, and it's a great area for that. And we do a lot of work over there.
That's great. Jean said they may be found. She said they be found. I'm sure that's not what you meant. They may be found in Detroit in abandoned homes.
I don't discount that. I don't discount that at all.
That makes sense. Like you said, they're opportunistic.
Yeah, they are very opportunistic, and if they can find they are where the feed is. Like every other being, we live really close to our refrigerator.
Yes. Because I feel like it's it was probably still is with it that it's a misconception that they all live way out where nobody can see them or find them and you don't agree. You don't agree with that?
No, they one in our area, and it's one you can watch for too, is wintertime. November, especially December, January, and into February, all the minus tides or extra low tides are all at night, and they're all down on the beach feeding then
Yes.
because
Oh
there's
my,
more protein per acre in tideland than there is any place else in the world.
oh wow.
So they can
Yeah.
load up on protein at that time because it's the middle of the night. Nobody's out there in the freaking
Mhm.
middle of the night
Yeah.
in this state in
Mhm, mhm.
December,
Right. Yes.
And
You know, that's very ironic because I was telling the guys, Grizzly and some of the other guys that we have shows with, that was last year, in December was the best audio that I have captured. But like you said, I lost 2 weeks worth. And it was when
Mhm.
my, I didn't know I had to back it up from my home security system. I didn't know I had to back it up. I didn't. And then it like kind of, you know, during a power outage shut down and I lost it. I lost it all. But now
Mhm.
I know to save them. Brian says, have you been to Michigan, Tom? And have you any experiences there?
I've been to Michigan, but I have not had any experiences there. Actually, I don't even recall if I got out that much. I was there for a conference one time, but I don't think I got out. I love conferences. You get to meet so many people, and you know, it's just so much fun. Yeah, but no, I love.
Brian saying, yeah, sorry, don't apologize for the questions because this is great.
No. It's,
yeah. He said, I feel like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And also Tammy Johnson said, this has been amazing. I feel like I'm taking a class or I'm in a seminar. You know, I've never learned so much about Bigfoot. I love that. That's great. And I agree. Wow.
well, you know, that's my job now. That's what my teacher has me doing. I have people that I mentor. I had a mentor, and I have people that I mentor, and now most of them are on their own. Brian, my partner up in BC, when we started together, oh my heavens, he got my earwax burned out more than once for the annex he was pulling. And, get him under control. And but he's totally on his own now. He's written books on his own. He hosts his own people, and you know, within Barb and Gabby's group, you know, there's a good portion of those are people that I've mentored in the stand, got them in with Barb, and they do things really well too. There, on their outings, if somebody has an event, they reenact it.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, they'll go back and, well, we saw him here. They'll go right back. Well, it's still fresh in their mind. I got them doing that a few years ago. And, you know, go right back. Well, it's still fresh in everybody's mind.
Mhm.
This is where this was. This is where that was. And then, you know, this is how big they had to be in order to see him like that.
Mhm.
And
Right.
it makes all the difference in the world. And it's all on film. Taking somebody to lunch with Barb's and experience all of its own. You know, he was talking about something, you know, and then so this and this happened and this happened. And here's the film that went with it.
Tom, were you there when Barb got that Bigfoot cloaking?
Cloaker? No.
No. Okay. I couldn't remember. Okay.
No, that was before I knew her, actually.
Okay.
It was just actually months before I knew her.
Wow.
And,
yeah.
But
Yeah,
she only
that
lives 20 minutes from me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we spend a lot of time together. I can't camp at her camps anymore, but I go up by the day.
Sure. That's great.
Get somebody to drive me up and back. So it's close enough.
You do mention cloaking in the book, and you said that they don't. You wouldn't call it cloaking. Is that how would what?
Well, it's cloaking by the definition.
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand how noise canceling headphones work, where you invert the signal and feed it back in, do that in the optical range, and that's what you're doing. Everything's still there, you just can't see it because it's been blanked out.
And they do that. They can do that. They have the ability.
How they do it, I have no idea.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I don't know what technology would be involved.
So they're still there. It's just you can't. Wow, that's amazing.
Barbara got cloaked with her teacher one time. He cloaked her and him together.
Oh wow!
They walked right through a flock of wild turkeys
without
being seen. Yeah.
Gosh. Somebody had Oh, what about the videos of juveniles walking into populated areas? Have you seen those? Do you?
No, I
I guess
haven't seen. I haven't seen
I
those, but
haven't seen them. I
uh,
haven't seen those either.
I won't
Do you
say
think?
it's impossible. Let me tell you about the impossible thing. Um, Sally Shepherd Wolford, Autumn Williams' mother, wrote a book called Valley of the Skookum. Very good book. Highly recommended. Okay, and that's just down the road from me here, 3-4 miles is where that took place. And she talks in that book about seeing a set of tracks appearing across the field with nothing making them, just the tracks appearing. And at the break at the conference, or that was down in Eugene, Oregon, and I had 24 people come up and ask, "Is that true? Does that happen?" I says, that's Sally's experience. It's not mine. I don't know. It's never happened to me, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened to her, because not everything happens to me. Okay, and it was that next spring we were out. Ivan, Igor Burtsev
Oh, yes.
from Russia was over, and I was hosting him, and we were driving around. We were down McMinnville, Oregon, meeting a guy there. And while they were hiking, I stayed by the car. And while I'm sitting there, I'm watching across this swale, a salmonberry swale, and here's two sets of tracks side by side appearing in the swale. I'm sure glad I didn't poo-poo that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh. Whoa, that's incredible. Oh my God.
These are incredible people.
Oh.
And make no mistake, they are a people. Okay? They're more intelligent than we are. They don't want anything to do with us. That proves that. Okay? In their way. Now we have technology that they don't have, but we don't have the size of brain that they have.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Do you have you heard that they have, what was it, Grizzly? Somebody had said that there was two, like, was it hearts and
two hearts and double rows of teeth?
I have heard of some with double rows of teeth. I don't know about the heart. You'd have to have a an autopsy to prove that.
Because we were just saying that, just the lung capacity that they have.
Their lung capacity is huge. Plus, they've got these echo chambers on their throats, and that's why they can get the sounds they get.
Wow.
And plus, their sounds go from below ours to way above ours.
That's amazing.
Look at their waveforms on spectrograph, and it goes from like 10 hertz up to 50,000.
Wow. So great. So, does anybody have any other questions? Let's get them in now, because Tom has the answers.
Right.
I'm always approachable.
Oh, that's amazing.
I live in an assisted living place, and as boring as can be.
Oh, yeah.
Food is terrible.
Oh, no. So you're ready to at any time. That's
I'm always ready for a good conversation.
You better be careful. You're going to be like, oh no, it's Barb Hartman again. Oh no.
But that's the book. That's Sasquatch the Proof. Everything we talked about today's in there, and it's a pretty good book.
Yes. Brian had said, can they echo like a howler monkey?
I don't know. I've never seen that done.
Okay.
But they can do so much with their voices. I wouldn't say no, certainly.
They can mimic humans, right? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody talking to me and I find out they weren't there even.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Youngsters.
And I want you to tell just real quick, tell the viewers, like, they actually healed your heart. Is that?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And that's in the book you have.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I was. We were at Camp Broken Arrow. There were 10 of us in camp, and the first day I was having heart troubles. I mean, I was having bad heart troubles, It was just I'm in atrial fibrillation 100% of the time. Okay, but that day it was bad. I was going to have to go home next morning. I just knew it.
Mm.
And as a matter of fact, Jeff Rohn just last year, he says, if you ever tell him that story, you can tell him I told Jim DeMaine that we were going to have to carry you home in the back of the truck. It
Yeah.
looked that bad. But we went to bed at night, and I had Sue, my research partner, calls it my princess mattress. It was a 16-inch high air mattress. And so I wouldn't feel the pee.
Yeah.
So she was at one end of the tent, and I was at the other end of the tent. I had a big tent. And about 4 in the morning, 4:20 in the morning, I wake up and I'm hearing zzz, and it's coming right out of there. Sue's awake. She said, where's that noise coming from? I said, right out of my chest.
Oh my gosh.
And I could hear them walking around outside the tent, right outside where I was in the tent. And it went on for, I said 20 minutes. Sue said, no, it went on for 2 hours before you woke up.
Wow.
And
Wow.
but it set my heart back in rhythm, made it work right again. And the next morning I get up, walk over to the fire, and Jim DeMaine standing there. What were you and Sue doing walking through camp in the middle of the night talking? We weren't. I never got out of bed. Sue looked out the door once, but she didn't leave the tent. Well, we heard you guys walking through camp. Jeff Rohn got up. What were you and Sue doing walking? 6 of the 10, when they got up, wanted to know what Sue and I were doing walking through camp talking in the middle of the night. We got looking, there's 2 sets of tracks, right from our tent to the fire and then up out the road, down the Logan Road. And they all agreed. I said, well, what were we saying? I said, well, we couldn't understand words, but it was, you and Sue both have very distinct voices, and we knew it was you. They were imitating this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's just incredible.
Yeah, that was one time. 2 weeks later, we were up on the Continental Divide up between Montana and Idaho. We were looking at the top of the ridge. We were on the Idaho side, and the other side of the ridge is Montana. That's how close we were.
Oh.
And they did it again. They came back in and did it much less that time, but just tweaked it a bit. But yeah. And then there's 2 others that happened in Georgia that's in that book too, other incidents of healing they did for me. And that was before I had my shoulder replacement surgery. And I was in so much pain with that shoulder, it was unreal. And they took care of that for me there too. And yeah, they've done some miraculous things. How they do it, I don't know. I have no idea, but they do it. And all I can do is report what I saw.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm in a position 65 years at this. If I ever told a lie about any of this and it was proven, I would have 65 years of credibility just like that. Okay. And can I be wrong? Yes, I can be wrong. I can misinterpret just like anybody else. And I'm going to see it through my eyes, which see through my experience. Okay. Somebody else may see the same thing and see something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
In my book, Face to Face, Sasquatch Face to Face, there's 32 accounts of face-to-face encounters. And it amazes me how many of them the person talks about being absolutely scared to death. Because this huge thing, I don't know what it's doing, is standing there looking at them.
Wow.
So it's our perception.
Yeah.
It's not what's happening. It's our perception of what's happening.
Not something that one expects to.
Right. Be respectful. Be friendly. I never take a picture unless I ask.
Okay.
Even if I'm just taking pictures of the scenery, I'll ask.
Mm-hmm.
And the one picture I have of my teacher, he photobombed me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I because Mike Scott, right? Mike Scott.
Yeah.
Yep. he was, I would say, was my first mentor, and then do you know Kevin Royce?
Yeah, I know Kevin.
Okay,
He's
yeah,
in our
'cause
group.
he's a neighbor. He's a neighbor of mine.
Oh, okay,
So,
cool.
yeah, so when I made my Facebook page and he joined it, and then he said, "We're close and we have clans." So I'm like, wow, okay, then this isn't, it's not my imagination what's going on. But so I learned that, yeah, from you guys as far as like what to do. And I, maybe that's why I've been having the success. I asked for permission and thank them, and and kind of try to respect their space. One of the, let me see, Yolanda said, I wonder if there's healing frequencies, if that's how they knew that you were sick.
Sure, there are. I don't know enough about that to speak on it, literally, but I'm sure there must be. There's some medium that they use.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, does anybody, Grizzly, do you have any questions?
No, not at all. It's been a fantastic show. I loved it.
We've talked a minute submission, huh?
That's right. I'm glad you came on the show, and I appreciate your time very much.
Oh, thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Well, yeah, maybe we'll do it again sometime. Just talk about Sasquatch.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. We'll cover one of your books. I'll definitely set you up and, because,
I did want to cover this proof thing, because to me, that's important. People need to have an argument. Don't worry about the idiots. They're always going to be idiots.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law said doesn't count.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're going to cite somebody who said that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just hearsay until we know who said it and can talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes. This is great. This has dispelled a lot of the myths with the suit and the fake claims, and with the Patterson Gimlin. I'll tell you what, I am very open-minded about everything, but with this subject, because I don't, you never know when, but that is one thing that really irks me when people try to disparage
let me tell
that
you,
situation. And Bob Gimlin is such a nice.
Bob is one of the real human beings in life. I'll tell you, he's a very good friend.
Yes, he's a very good friend of yours.
And he's doing a little better now. He had some rough times, so he's doing better now. I'm trying to get together a time where we can go over and have lunch again. When I lived in Tri-Cities, we used to get together for lunch a couple times a month, but since I moved back over here, can't do that as often. Of course, he can't drive anymore, and I can't drive anymore, so we're subject to other people doing it for us. Mm-hmm. But I talked to him just the other night, and he's doing a lot better. But somebody disparage him in front of me, just stop and think about this. Bob's an old cowboy. He really is. He's a throwback 150 years. Okay? If people treat him, called him a liar like they do today, 150 years ago, they'd have gotten shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because your word was your bond, and Bob's that way today. His words is bond. Will he tease you? Oh, yeah, he'll tease the daylights out of you. Yeah. Bob and I were sitting at the summit one time, we're talking together, and of course, Bob, where Bob is, there's ladies everywhere.
Yeah.
And somebody comes up and says, how come all the good-looking girls are around you two? Bob says, we're safe.
Oh, that's great. Well, Tom, thank you so much. This is just
thank you for having
me.
Yeah,
thank you guys. I didn't hear the verdict come back yet. I didn't.
Oh, so I know that I think what was it that guilty? Definitely, yep. We know.
Yeah.
And I know everybody believes.
Yeah, the viewers are they're
everybody believes.
Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And from coast to coast around the world. Yeah. That's a wrap. We'll see you on the next show. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.